Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And today we'll be starting a new assignment brief. The title of the assignment brief is The Economic Environment. In this assignment, we are going to talk about demand, supply. What are the factors that affect demand? What are the factors that affect supply? And then we are also going to talk about the price elasticity of demand. So all those students who are aware of these topics, you can right away start with the assignment. All those who are not sure what it is about, you're requested to watch this video carefully. I'm also providing you with a a PDF in which there is entire detailed discussion of both the topics. Now, there are a few videos online which are very helpful in terms of elasticity of demand. I will also be sharing one or some of those so you can just quickly go through them and very, very helpful it will be. So without wasting much time, let's get started. As you can see on the screen, the economic environment is the title of this assignment brief. And some of the topics, as I said, would be on demand, supply, what are the price elasticity of demand. So this topic is going to be a little extensive. Okay, this is those who are coming here for the first time in economics. This will take a little bit of time. I highly recommend go through the PDF at least twice before you appear for your assignment. Then this side, if you've understood the first learning outcomes, second would be relatively easy because here you just have to do the calculations of price elasticity and the evaluation of impact of different elasticity in a given scenario. I have made it really application based. So I have given you scenarios, I have given you formulas like questions to solve. You just have to put in a little bit of a logic. How will it impact and how will you calculate? That's it. Then coming to the third objective, and that is understand the role of government in macroeconomy. Analyze government macroeconomic objective. We have already covered this, if you remember, and evaluate the role of monetary and fiscal policy in regulating gross domestic product. Um, so I'm going to share some videos related to the third assessment objective. The reason is that some part of it is already discussed in the past assignments. Those who are doing it for the first time, these videos will be very, very helpful. So let's get started. First, let us understand what do we mean by demand and supply. As we know, this word is very oftenly used in day-to-day life, wherein we say demand, supply. Demand basically is the quantity of goods people are ready to buy at a given price. Okay, so quantity of goods demanded or people are ready to buy at a given price. So let us say if the price of a good is $10, people will buy 20 quantity. And if it increases to $20, people will buy only 10 quantity. Okay, so this quantity is apparently the demand, okay, at a given price, 10 and $20. On the other hand, what is supply? Supply is the amount of goods, the quantity of goods producers are ready to supply. Producers are ready to sell at a given price. Is called as supply. Now, in this case, let us say that at $10, a supplier is ready to sell to 10 quantity, but as the price increases, it is more beneficial, it is more profitable. So suppliers would like to supply more quantity because it's profitable to them. Okay, let's get started here. There is something called price mechanism, consumers, markets. Let us understand some of these terms. First, there is something called demand curve, or let's say law of demand. Law of demand says that in an idealistic situation wherein everything else is remaining constant, as the price increases, the demand decreases, which is pretty much logical. You go to the market, you find something not that pricey, it is relatively low these days, so you tend to buy that product more. So if there are prices are less, the demand is high. And if you go to the market on the other day, everything is looking a little more expensive, the sale is over, and it's all at a higher price, you tend to buy less, so the demand decreases. On the other hand, if the price decreases, demand increases. And if I have to make a graph out of this relationship, it's going to look something like this. Why? Because if the price increases from P to P dash, let's say this is price and this is quantity demanded. So what will happen is at P, the quantity sold is Q, but at P dash, the quantity sold is Q dash. So as the price increased from P to P dash, the quantity decreased from Q to Q dash. Next, what about supply? The law of supply says that as the price increases, the quantity supplied also increases. All right. And as the price decreases, quantity supplied also decreases. Now understand like a producer. If something is becoming expensive in the market, it's constantly the prices are increasing. It's beneficial for you as a producer to sell more because then you're gaining more and more profit. And imagine, on the other hand, if the prices are dropping with time, what happens is that in such a scenario, um, it's not only less profitable, but also some companies might find it difficult to even manufacture at that price. So their cost of production is it's more than the prices available in the market. In that case, many producers stop producing. So as the price falls, quantity supplied falls. If I have to put it in a graph, the supply curve will look like a positive graph like this. So this shape is called a negative graph and this shape is called a positive graph. Why positive? Well, because apparently the relationship moves in the same direction. Do you see? This is same direction. So if my prices increase from P to P dash, the quantity supplied also increases, let us see, from Q to Q dash. Okay, so this relationship is called as the law of supply. Now, here are some of the words, please terms, go through them. What do you mean by quantity? What is the product? Who are the buyers? Now, do not go much into detail. See, understand, we are studying business. We are not getting into economics much. Notional demand, you can totally, like you can go through it, read it. But at the end of the day, we have to focus on more important concepts. Um, Let us understand. There are two words, willing to buy and able to buy. Willing to buy means everybody wants to buy that big bungalow next to the beach, or probably, everybody wants to buy that amazing diamond, or maybe everybody wants to buy an expensive car. But the thing is, how many of us are actually capable of buying it? So notional demand is willingness to buy, like everybody wills, like it can be a poor person or a rich person, they can will to buy something. On the other hand, notional effective demand is the demand of people who are also able to buy. So my demand for probably a very, very expensive car would be just a notional demand. This is something just I want, but I can't afford it. But the moment I can afford it and I want it, that is an effective demand. Um, yeah, that is another word that I want to take here, and that is ceteris paribus. What do you mean by ceteris paribus? Is everything else remains constant. Now, this is very, very important because I'll give you an example. If we go by the traditional law of demand, that as the price increases, demand decreases. If we talk about an addictive product like cigarettes, even if the price increases, you know what? It's addictive. People still buy it. So the demand remains constant. So the law of demand fails. Okay. So when there is this word called ceteris paribus, that means everything else remains constant. Like it's a very normal, idealistic situation in which this role, this certain trend appears in the demand, wherein the price increases, demand decreases. And there is another scenario. Let's say, imagine prices of certain product is increasing in the market. Let's say laptops, okay, they're increasing. But there is also news in the market that very soon prices of the laptops will increase even more. Okay, so in the short run, people will run to the market and buy laptops because they are expecting prices to go even higher in future. So what is this? This is an unidealistic situation. Here, the law of demand is not operating. How is it not operating? Because although the prices are increasing, yet the demand is also increasing because the future expectations are high. Okay. So ceteris paribus is super important. There are many other potential influences on demand of a product, but in order to understand the law of demand, we keep them constant. And that word is called ceteris paribus, which means everything else remains equal. Um, when we make a simple table showing the relationship between price and the quantity demanded, this is called as the demand schedule. Okay, it's called as a demand schedule. I'm sorry, this is something wrong with the PDF here. Next is when we plot it on a graph, it is called as a demand curve. This is called as demand curve. Next. You can just go through it. It's a reverse relationship, negative relationship. Now coming to the movements of the demand curve. Just I want you to go through these ones. This is not like really a rocket science. It's an amazing piece of PDF. You can just like quickly go through them. Very, very important is the two movements of the demand curve. There is one movement. This is the demand curve. This is price. This is quantity. Okay. So at the moment, let us say that my demand is somewhere here. Now, if the demand moves from here to here, this movement is called movement along the curve. Sorry, this is called as movement along the curve. On the other hand, there is a movement, another movement in which the demand curve itself moves from a position to to another position. Okay. This is called as shift of the demand curve. Shift of demand curve. Now, please understand this. This might take a little time, even for those who have studied this topic earlier. Please listen to this very, very carefully. Along the curve, movement happens because of any change in price. This shift from E to E dash happens only because of change in the price. Here, I'll give you an evidence right now. At E point, the price was at P, and at E dash, the price moved from P to P dash, and the quantity increases from Q to Q dash. Okay, so this particular movement, the quantity demanded is increasing, and hence it will be called as expansion of demand. Expansion of demand. Why? Because my demand is increasing. But the reason is only price. Only price has changed here. The word we use is expansion. On the other hand, if the movement has been on the opposite direction, instead coming from E to E dash, had it been E dash to E, in this case, it will be called as contraction of demand. Now, if somebody just quickly asks you, tell me what is expansion and contraction of demand, you have to start your answer with price. Any change in demand that happens because of the change in price is called as a shift along the curve. And if the price is decreasing, it will be called as expansion. And if the prices are increasing, it will be called as the contraction in demand. Okay, so words, please remember expansion and contraction. On the other hand, shifting of the entire curve, the price remains same. Let's say P is over here, and at the same price, in first case, the quantity demanded was here, and in the second case, the quantity demanded is ahead. This shift in the entire demand curve is called as increase in demand and decrease in demand. Sorry. And how do you define this situation? This situation happens only and only if there are changes in factors other than price. For example, there is a change in terms of, let's say, other goods are becoming more expensive or less expensive, or let's say that things are changing, some sort of changes are happening in the market. In that case, we use the word increase and decrease in demand. Now, in this scenario, um, factors other than price, I'm going to tell you all the factors that affect the demand. But remember, if the curve is moving towards right, okay, it's moving towards right, it is called increase in demand. But if it is moving towards left, it is called as decrease in demand. Okay, movement on right, increase, movement on left, decrease. Learn it like absolutely clear in your mind, because the same formula will apply for the supply curve also. Movement on right, increase, movement on left, decrease. This is a constant formula. And now let us go ahead. What are the factors that affect demand? So other than price, remember when I told you if the price increases or decreases, we use the word contraction and expansion. Now we are talking about scenario number 2 here. What are the factors that affect the demand curve when the demand curve moves either ahead on the right or it moves towards the left? First thing is income. Okay. If generally the income of people increases, the demand for those goods, demand for goods also increases. But this is a case only with normal goods. Okay. What do we mean is that in case of normal goods, we see the relationship as the price increases, as the income as the income increases, the quantity demanded also increases. This is what happens in the normal goods. So let's say that if we talk about fruits and vegetables in any country, if the average income of people is increasing, fruits usually are purchased more in the market. Or let us say we talk about televisions. As the as the average income of any country increases, people buy more and more televisions and other luxury goods. So income increases, quantity demanded increases. However, there is one types of goods in which as the income increases, the quantity demanded decreases. Now, what are these goods? These goods are special kinds of goods and they are called as inferior goods. In order to make things simple for you, I'll give you an example of non-branded and low quality clothes or shoes, or maybe, any low quality product that people use because they cannot afford more expensive clothes. But as the income increases, they switch from inferior goods to the better goods, high quality goods. So inferior goods are those goods which has an opposite relationship with income. As the person becomes more rich, their income increases, the quantity demanded for such goods decreases. Okay, so in case of inferior goods, this relationship is absolutely opposite. Okay, these are called as inferior goods. Now the next thing is, another factor that affects the demand of a product is price and availability of related products. Price and availability of related products. Now, what does that mean? Here, related products can either be substitutes or complements. What are these? Substitute means any product that can be an absolute replacement of your good. Okay. For example, so let's say that I drink Coca-Cola. What else can I use instead of Coca-Cola? It could be Pepsi. Okay. Uh, the replacement or a product that can totally cancel out your demand is called as a it's called as substitutes. So, and there are some goods which are not substitute, but they are consumed together. So, for example, car and the petrol, we call it gas, right? So car and petrol is an example. Or let's say pen and an ink. If you're consuming one, you have to consume the other. Okay. So when they both are consumed together, it is called as complementary goods. They go together. Now you have to apply a little bit of logic here. It's not easy, children. It looks like easy because I'm speaking it right now. When you try to do it on your own, these things might be difficult. If price of Coca-Cola increases, you know, Coke suddenly becomes very expensive. What will happen? People will start consuming more of Pepsi. So the demand for Pepsi increases. Price of substitute good increases. Demand for a particular good also increases. Vice versa, if the price decreases, demand decreases. So there is a direct relationship between the two. Okay. On the other hand, if cars become expensive, people buy less cars and hence they also demand less petrol. Opposite relationship or negative relationship in case of the second. All right. So you can read about this. Fashion, taste, and trends also affects demand. So as you know that there was a point of time wherein there was a huge demand for uh, this uh, what's it called? Yeah, the pocket watches that were used, right? Now they are not used anymore because everybody uses a wristwatch, or people rather use their mobile phones these days to watch time. And this because the fashion, taste, and trends are changing, people are demanding different kinds of goods. So this one is pretty Simple, there's no complication here. Now, coming to the supply. Now, whatever we have studied in demand, the very similar things are going to be applied on supply side. Let us understand what are those. I have already told you the law of supply here. Yeah, as the price increases, quantity supply increase. This is called as law of supply. There's a positive curve. Now let us understand if the quantity supplied, this is the supply curve. If the change happens because of a change in price, P to P dash, this change is called as expansion of supply because we are moving from Q to Q dash. This is called expansion. And on the other hand, if it is from Q dash to Q, it will be called as contraction of supply. This happens because of only and only change in the price. This is super, super important. On the other hand, if my supply curve entirely shift towards right, S to S dash, this is called as increase in supply. And if it moves from S dash to S, it is called decrease in supply. Okay. This doesn't happen because of the prices. It happens because of factors other than prices. Now let us see what are the factors. Please go through these. This is very good content. This is called supply schedule. This is called supply curve. Go through them once and now let us understand factors affecting supply, which is a very important topic. Your assignment will have content from this and the factors affecting demand. Okay, both of these are very, very important. So the first thing, what affects supply? The cost of manufacturing. If it is expensive to make something, people will make less. The producers will make less. So as the cost increases, the quantity supply decreases. Now, what kind of cost? Number one, the labor becomes expensive. Okay, the cost is increasing, less supply. Petrol or the raw material is becoming expensive. Or maybe machines are becoming expensive. Technology is becoming expensive. In all these scenarios, the quantity supplied decreases. Okay, as the cost increases, quantity supplied decreases. The size and the nature of the industry. If the industry is growing, like for example, the electric vehicles in today's time, the industry is constantly catching up. More and more people are switching to electric cars. And in that scenario, the demand, the supply is also increasing. More and more producers would love to come in such industries and make more goods and services. The change in the prices of other products. If a competitor lower its prices, it could mean that less products will be supplied by other firms because of the high competition. If other firms are reducing the prices, it might become um, it might become less viable for other suppliers to produce at that prices, and hence the supply of the product also decreases. Um, Government influences companies and their supply of products in many ways. A new tax on product may result in a reduction of supply. If see, consider taxes as cost only. So if cost is increasing, supply decreases. On the other hand, subsidies, wherein the government give monetary benefits in producing something. In that scenario, subsidies increases supply. You can just quickly go through the other factors, not very difficult. Um, this is increase in demand. This is decrease in demand. I have already told you. This is a summary of all the factors that we have already done. What are the factors that shift to the shift the demand curve right? What are the factors that shift demand curve left? Go through them. Same apply for the supply curve. Um, this is. I'm sorry. This is super important, all right? Extension, contraction, increase and decrease. Go through this content really well, okay? Read it again. And that's the end of the entire chapter. I'm going to pause my class here. And this is a 30 minutes lesson. The price elasticity of demand, I'm going to teach, probably I'll record a lesson by evening today or maybe today itself. But in case, even if I'm not sending you the recording, I'm also sending you a link on price elasticity of supply. So all those students who have a lot of time and they can complete their assignments faster, just go through those videos. They should be enough. With that, thank you very much for joining. I hope to see you soon. Bye.